Hey guys, great to see you all. Man, the 10th District, you rock. Now, guess by apparel which of us two is not on the ballot this year. So, like, I'm dressed like, you know, a canvasser, and I saw many of you Saturday when I was with Jennifer. But isn't it amazing? Isn't it great to have Dr. Biden with us, our First Lady? And I want to thank Molly for her kind words and her advocacy, and to thank our homeowners who these guys just knock it out of the park, and they offer again and again and again to have us. So thank you all for gathering. I'm just going to be really quick. I want to say how excited I am to be here for Jennifer. Many of you know that Jennifer is a wonderful public servant before she was an elected official. And I always say, if you want to know what kind of an elected official someone will be, and if you want to know what their heart is and are they sincere, well, what did they do before they were in office? And Jennifer was an advocate for kids who really needed an advocate in the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office and elsewhere. So that's how she started her public service work right here in this community. Then she became a dynamic member of the Virginia General Assembly, tackling all the issues that y'all care so much about, education and transportation issues. We're really excited because we're opening the Silver Line to Dulles and Loudoun a week from tomorrow. But then I really got to work with Jennifer heavily when I was running for re-election in 2018. And she was one of these really dynamic women in Virginia that were trying to flip red seats blue. And because of you, and I see Tanya, who ran my operation in Northern Virginia, and Corinne, my campaign manager, because of you, we flipped 3 red seats blue to dynamic congresswomen, and in the 10th it was Jennifer. And Jennifer, that seat had been red for decades? 38 years. 38 years, but who's counting? 38 years, right? Well, now I've had a chance to see Jennifer, not just the public advocate, child advocate, state legislator, great campaigner, but I've had the chance to work with her really closely. The Virginia delegation is rare. We're the only one of the 50 that has a meeting together every month, the House and senators, all 13 of us, Democrats and Republicans, so we can talk about, if we disagree on a whole lot of stuff, what are the things we agree on to try to move Virginia forward. And I watched Jennifer, who is a very kind and courteous and friendly person, but do not mistake that for lack of backbone, resolve, or firmness. She is a very passionate advocate. And in particular, she will not stand by and let anyone, and I mean anyone, be kicked around. She will never stand by and let anyone be kicked around. And that's why I'm so proud to have her as a colleague. She's played a key role in getting the infrastructure bill done, and getting common sense gun safety done, in getting the Inflation Reduction Act and the American Rescue Plan passed. All these things, many of which are getting passed by one vote, many of which, even the bipartisan ones, sadly, they're not bipartisan in Virginia, because folks like Jennifer's opponent in Virginia opposed them. But thank God we have a principled, common sense servant with a great servant's heart. It's really, really exciting for me to present. I don't need to introduce, you know her so well, your neighbor, your friend, and a great member of Congress, Jennifer Wexton.
Well, hello, Ashburn.
Yeah.
Who's fired up for Election Day tomorrow? Now, Tim, since you're dressed like a canvasser, you think you might stick around and knock a packet after this? Can't hurt to ask. Who's very excited to hear from our fabulous First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden? Thank you so much. Looking out and seeing so many wonderful faces, so many volunteers who have been here knocking doors for me for many years, I know that we're going to have a good day tomorrow. Thank you so much for all that you've done. We're so close to the end, but we cannot give up now. Now, I need to take a moment and just fangirl here for a moment, because I'm going to take Congresswoman's prerogative, if I may, because we're joined here today by Dr. Jill Biden, who's an absolute rock star.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
She's an inspiration to so many women. She was a high school educator for more than a decade. She got her doctorate while she was working full time. As the daughter of people who did that, you know, I know that's very, very difficult and a very stressful situation. But she teaches now at Northern Virginia Community College, one of the first first ladies to work a job outside of the White House. And those of you who may not know that she also is a runner, and she has run marathons, including an impressive 4-hour and 30-minute finish at the Marine Corps Marathon not too long ago.
She did her research.
In high heels, right?
I'll talk a little bit more about her today. And yes, and she's wearing these amazing high heels too. So I got my flats on, so that tells you a little bit about the difference between us. But anyway, good to see you. So I've been in public service my entire career. As Tim pointed out, I was a prosecutor, where I protected kids who had been victims of domestic violence. As a guardian ad litem, where I worked with kids who had been taken away from their parents as a result of abuse and neglect, and as a state senator, where I amassed a bipartisan record of helping to pass legislation that helped kids and families. And the reason I've dedicated so much of my life to public service is because I believe that this is a way that I can truly better the lives of my people and my constituents around me and my community. And so I've been able to do that during my time in Washington, working with President Joe Biden. Democrats in Congress have delivered a rescue plan.
Yes.
That saved jobs in our communities and powered our economy to historic growth, as well as basically eradicating COVID in our time. Once-in-a-generation bipartisan infrastructure bill, which will restore our crumbling roads, bridges, and transit. Finally making universal broadband a reality. And creating good-paying jobs all around the country. A bipartisan innovation and competition bill, which will boost American manufacturing, bring businesses back to the U.S. and step up our competitiveness globally now and in the future. And to tackle head-on the burdens of rising costs on families' budgets, we enacted the Inflation Reduction Act, major legislation which will lower health care prescription drug costs for families, capping the cost of insulin at $35 for American seniors. Fight inflation while making corporations and ultra-wealthy finally pay their fair share in taxes.
Yep, that's right.
And finally take meaningful action to combat climate change to ensure a healthy planet for our kids' future. We've made historic progress under President Biden. It's improving the lives of kids and families here in Virginia 10. I'm proud of our progress, and you should be too.
We are. We are.
It's thanks to the hard work of volunteers like you that we flipped this seat in 2018 after 38 years in Republican hands. It's because of you that we restored the soul of America by electing Joe Biden in 2020. It's because of you that we're going to hold on to this seat and defend our majority in Congress, because we're not done yet. We're not done yet. We still have so much work to do. To ensure we need to continue with a strong, stable economic recovery, defend against rising discrimination and attempts to strip away fundamental rights, and to protect our very democracy. Because there's a lot of stake at this election. People are going to be faced with choices when they go to the polls tomorrow. Choices between fighting for a good future for our families or giving in to special interests. Fighting between protecting rights like abortion and women's freedom to make decisions about their own health care, or denying people rights that have been guaranteed for decades. Between defending our democracy or seeking to undermine it, between people or politics. And I've always put the families of Virginia first, and I'll keep fighting to do just that when I return to Congress. And there's no one better to talk about how important it is to fight for families than our First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden. She knows what it means to have our kids' best interests always at the top of mind, because she's dedicated her very life to that cause. Dr. Biden has been a champion for greater educational opportunities for our children for decades, from universal pre-K, which we're still working on here in this country, to free community college. And she's put those values to work right here in Northern Virginia, teaching classes at Northern Virginia Community College. She's fought to give help to those battling cancer in need, and the cancer moonshot that she and President Joe Biden have come up with was helping to save lives. It's because of his leadership that we passed the PACT Act through Congress, which is huge. Finally, despite years of lip service from others, we passed this PACT Act, which will protect veterans and service members from burn pits and the terrible diseases that they got as a result of them. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't put in a plug for my own legislation, the Gabriella Miller Kids First Act 2.0, which Tim Kaine is helping to guide through the Senate. This would expand research funding for childhood cancer research. It has passed the House. We need to get it through the Senate and to the White House for Joe Biden's signature. So if you could, Dr. Biden, if you could put in a word with the President on that, we'd really appreciate it. And Dr. Biden has been a relentless advocate for military families like hers, supporting better health and wellness resources and opportunities for military spouses. I cannot imagine anyone better to join us today, the total rock star, the future of the Democratic Party and what's at stake for our kids and families tomorrow and in the future, Dr. Jill Biden.
Thank you. Thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you so much. And I love that I see labor here. I saw unions over here and unions over here. I love Moms Demand Action are here. Thank you. Thanks for coming. And Jennifer, you've been such a champion for the issues of the people of Northern Virginia and the Shenandoah Valley and what they care about most. But as a teacher and a military mom, I'm especially grateful for what you've done to support student veterans.
Yeah.
And thank you to Lisa and Joni for hosting us today. Apparently, they host all winners, so that's a good sign. And Tim, how many times have I told you and Ann and how many times have we been together on the final days of an election?
Here, there, and everywhere.
So many. So as always, thank you for your leadership and your partnership and your friendship. So thank you. So I'm glad to be here to support Jennifer and Democrats up and down the ballot. And as all of you know, every election is important. But in these midterms, when the polls close tomorrow, aren't you like taking like you can't wait? You're probably like me crossing off every day. She said she has more doors to knock. It really could come down to a handful of votes. So I'm a teacher, as you know, and are there teachers here? Like, why aren't you working? As well as a mom and a nana. And to stay organized, I use to-do lists. And I bet most of you do too, especially some of the teachers. I know how organized you are. Well, this election is going to be won or lost by where voting falls on your to-do list. So I want you to picture a mom right here in Ashburn. And you know her probably. Her list is long. She wakes up, she grabs her coffee, and she takes out the laundry, that she did the night before. So she's taking it out of the dryer just as her daughter starts asking for clean socks. Yes, she spends her day jumping from meeting to meeting, and when 6 p.m. rolls around, she rushes to the store to pick up poster board for her son's project before making dinner. Look at all you shaking your heads like we have all been there, right? So where does voting fall on her to-do list? Working parents, students who are juggling school and jobs like all my students that I teach, seniors who might need a little more help. Will they be able to turn in their ballot? And will they be able to get to the polls? Or will voting be that one thing that just doesn't get crossed off on their to-do list? What happens here tomorrow won't just set the course for the future of Virginia. You'll help decide the future of our country as well. And that's why we're all here today, to get out the vote. In only 2 years. And honestly, this morning, all these people were sending me emails because I didn't even realize today is the 2-year anniversary of our election, of when we won. And in those 2 years, Joe and Tim and Jennifer have gotten so much done. They rescued us from the chaos of the pandemic. So if you can go back in your head 2 years to where you were, sitting with that mask on, washing your groceries outside on your porch because you didn't want to bring them in, remember? That's where we were. Look at how far we've come. They created millions of jobs, and they're working to bring down costs for families. And we cannot keep that momentum going without Jennifer. So right now, voters have a choice to make between two drastically different visions for our future. In one, we send Jennifer back to Congress to keep building on the progress we've made. And in the other, extremists are putting Social Security and Medicare on the chopping block. A Republican majority will attack women's rights and affordable health care. They will once again give more tax cuts to large corporations and the wealthy. That is just not fair. Now, this race is going to be close, and the only way we can win is by voting. So put voting first on your to-do list. And make sure that your friends and your neighbors and your family and the people in your book club or at your church or at your schools, they do the same thing. We will win, and this is how we're going to do it. With one ballot cast, your ballot, one phone call to a neighbor who maybe might forget to vote, but, God forbid, that they would, with all the commercials, that they could forget to vote. One ride offer to a polling place. Again and again, these small actions keep adding up to something so much bigger than anything we could do alone. It starts with you. You guys don't realize it. You are the ones who take us to victory. It starts with all of us digging a little bit deeper, working a little bit harder, and believing that, yes, we will send Jennifer Wexton back to Capitol Hill. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Let's go down and say hello. Now I'll take your hand.
Morning, Adam brings you up in the